Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Desree Noel, and this evening I'll be reading a chapter from my manuscript entitled Remand City. Do enjoy. The rain poured from the swirling gateway in the sky as a hazy mist of water engulfed the entire city. The boundary between the dull sky and the mechanized scrapers swiftly caved in. Even beyond the far horizon, it was crushed into one, as if the sky and the ground were unified by the rain. Slowly but surely, humanoid figures draped in grey overalls emerged from the cocoon of mist. Drifting along deserted streets, the obsidian pickaxes dangled from their ebony hands as the horde converged in City Square. Metallic winged eyes fluttered helplessly in the downpour as they pursued the masses through the veil. Some took shelter under the opposite eaves, forming a humming hive of waspish electric blue pupils. Others crashed with the rains, their eyelids creasing shut as they waited to be rebooted at dawn. The thickening mouth trudged on, ignoring the eyes that supervised their every move. They all had one destination, the city square, where they were waiting for them. From beyond the sky gateway in the comfort of his office stood the creature, glaring at the endless screens plastering the walls around him. From the heel of black shiny boots rose creased khaki pants, fastened at the waist by a silver-buckled, reinforced spider silk belt. A short-sleeved khaki shirt tucked neatly into his pants was adorned with badges on his left chest. Finally, crowned the 8-foot Hurricane figure was the gold-rimmed black hat. Short silver hair peeked from beneath the visor, dangling loosely over a sharp pair of eyes, one grey on the right and electric blue on the left, as they danced between the remaining screens. The Xanox astronomic conversion zone brought with it unpredictable acid rains and an inevitable surveillance crash. Nevertheless, some survived as the busily tried to relay the live news captured on their blinking retinas. The man groaned as he watched the masses. He murmured to himself as his left eye lens contracted and expanded, repeatedly capturing the finest details and movement as his vision shifted from the office to the hundreds of eyes scattered across the drenched city simultaneously. Who is it this time? Who is the rat that clambered those sewers? Wait till I lay my eyes on you. The crowd lugged their heavy legs forward in silence, turned their gaze neither to the left nor to the right, as if entranced by Pied Piper himself. In reality, it took all their focus to march forward, while casting a thin mana barrier over their frail bodies to keep the acid rain from seeping in. Unlike the high-octane eyes chasing them, theirs bore dark rings like Saturn, encircling hazy pupils void of sustainable life. Yet, a small ember still flickered within, propelling each step as the square came into view, and at the center of it, they could be seen standing resolute at the score. They whom they had placed their faith in. They were the souls kept hidden from the gaze of the superintendent for the past 5 years, since being detained and cast down to this forgotten city. They were the newly awakened, the fruit of the years spent laboring in the city's underground necrodermis mines. Awakened, that was a term for those that transcended the natural realm and became endued with power by the galactic netizens. Some were born awakened, some were handed powers on silver platter, while a few others who survived achieved the true deathly means. The ones standing in their midst now were the latter. They, too, wore the grey overalls, the mark of all those detained, together with dark steel anklets that weighed down each step, anchoring them to the city. The awakened were few in number, one for every 300 souls. At this outpost, there was a steady influx of those captured by the cyberpole and handed over to the superintendent to wither away till trial, however long that took. One of the awakened stepped forward, their flesh wrapped in layers of cloth like the earth mummies of legends, like millions ago, oozed a purple aura that rose like incense before evaporating in acid rain. Refreshing sweet fragrance permeated the air around them, a welcome aroma in the otherwise decaying wasteland. Behind him stood 6 more, side by side like mannequin soldiers on display. Their features were masked to avoid the eyes' penetrating gazes, but all they that gathered knew them. They slept, ate, and worked together for half a decade, some longer still. They all shared a joint fate in the city. The representative stood approximately 5.5 feet tall, as he showed his obsidian pickaxe, the alloy head of which spanned the length of his scrawny arms. The pickaxe handle, once covered in soot, was rinsed with rains, revealing a dull wood etched with ancient runes that glowed gently under his touch. These were given them at the sky loading bay to mine the Nicodemus deposits in the abandoned city. It was the one quality item they owned, the only item within the sector capable of such dangerous task. He scanned the faces in the crowd, while most looked human like his. Some bore the features of the other world refugees, with scales, feathers, elongated ears, and shaved horns decorated their heads. Some were even hybrids. There was no respect of species here. The only requirement was that they be humanoid enough to wield a pickaxe and labor in the endless mines. He lifted the pickaxe in the air, and a shout erupted from the gathered masses, reverberating from the center as it swept through the city like a tsunami. From the crowds came a surge of mana energy, as joy and anger poured out, causing steam to rise in the midst of the unrelenting downpour. He lowered his pickaxe and turned to face his awakened comrades. It's time. It's time to leave this wretched place. Please, lend me your strength. Of course, count me in. I'll be the tank on front guard. There's no other choice. Who want to stay and face the superintendent alone anyway? They'll be livid once they've realized what's missing. That crazy berserker mage bastard. Not me. I'm instead of a close compact. Besides, those eyes creep me out. Take me with you, 1007. Come on, PR 1007. You know we'd help you. No man left behind, remember? That's what you told us when you concocted this plan years ago. You're not getting rid of four of us that easy. I'm sure that pointy ears over there, and even that stout dwarf feel the same way. We all want out of here. Even that mining addict dwarf there has had enough, and those two have been here longer than most of us. So don't worry about it. It's time we all left Remand City. Thank you all. PR 1007 smiled at his comrades. With a final cry, he led his men and the masters to the central sewer gates as they descended into the tunnels. The tunnels were the arches of the city, blackened by the abuse of years and lined with leftover Nicodemus, the living metal from which the city was first built eons ago. Down the endless chasm of mazes lay the fresh Nicodemus, the same material that World War VI was fought over back home when he was younger. They went on and on into the black abyss without an end in sight. The only light was emitted from the obsidian pickaxes that glowed each time it came nearer the Nicodemus deposits. Rather than the mid-light magic, which drained their mana tremendously, they relied on the dim light from their pickaxes and the ancient runes engraved on the handles that gave them the strength to mine even in the state. Even in the dark, they walked steadily forward as if strolling through their own neighborhood. The tracks had long disappeared, but still they continued for what felt like hours into the underbelly of the city. The surface rains could not reach them here, nor those pesky eyes. In the pit, only the half-dead roamed with steady footsteps that echoed through the decaying cavities that drew to the backbone of the once prosperous city. They descended in silence, save for the shuffling of feet, descended into the abyss where the sullen, noxious energy that birthed the city lay. It was 6 hours since the rains began, and there appeared to be no end in sight. The dull scrapers had long melted into even darker skies, and a thick, toxic fog had covered the city. There was no living thing in sight, save for the superintendent pictured above the tallest scraper, and behind him the cadres of armed corrections officers who responded to his call. They emerged through the interdimensional portal above, flushed out together with the torrents of rain. Yet they were all dry. An eerie yellow aura rose from their bodies, which looked like flaming asteroids, as officers plummeted down to the city, leaving craters which soon flooded to become upshot pools in their wake. The superintendent remained above as he landed gently on the roof of a scraper. The shell of the building began to screech as a web of blue fractures erupted from the soles of his feet, careening violently across the rooftop in a network of glowing lines before overflowing to the floors below. The dead structure came to life as the living metal was flooded with mana, and one by one each floor lit up until the scraper was reborn as a dazzling blue tower, visible through the storm from all corners of the city. The remaining eyes flocked to the building, slamming into its bedazzled walls before melting into one. On the rooftop, which had now become an erupting volcano of light, a new eyeball was being formed under the superintendent's feet, one that ravished the screeching metal of the top 5 stories in an endless string of metal and light, until a new, all-seeing pupil emerged, ready to devour all in its gaze. Meanwhile, the officers flowed seamlessly through the circle-like streets. and to the core where the man and rats were last spotted. The after images of light resembled lightning in the thick fog, while the screeching morphine scraper made up for the absence of crash and thunder, as it was heard and seen wherever they went. They, too, were awakened. Such was the basic requirement for being a dog of the state, a gift handed to them in exchange for their immortality. The energy that pulsed through their veins was to serve one master and suppress all that opposed. The superintendent calmly looked down in silence. His blue eye resonated with the glowing eyeball below his feet. It was now several meters in diameter. Fueled by a direct source, it no longer succumbed to the acid rain, but blazed violently, emitting webs of current that caught onto the surrounding buildings below. Spreading like wildfires, more buildings rebooted and hummed to life. He could see his cutters entering the underground tunnels. Deeper still, the eye allowed him to see below the surface as his consciousness burrowed through the city's rotten flesh, penetrating until its very skeleton was laid bare before his eyes. Deeper, deeper, deeper still through the maze of minds his gaze penetrated till they reached the deepest point. There, in the midst of the abyss, stood the ominous creature smiling back at him. His mind froze. No, no way. Why is that thing here? To be continued. Thank you for listening to Remand City.